I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for a good hero's journey and kung fu movie. I used to love this one called Equilibrium. And I especially loved it if they're really allegorical, like The Matrix, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that type of thing. And Equilibrium specifically, the character is a grammaton cleric of the Tetragrammaton. I love that phrasing. He knows gun katas, and he's like this, he's amazing. The character, and I never knew what Tetragrammaton meant, but I always loved the phrasing, and I'd come back to it over decades, like, Tetragrammaton, love that word. And it actually led me into finding Metatron, which, little known archangel, have you ever heard of Metatron? Yeah, it's actually, Metatron was an archangel in the Bible. It's in one of the books that was disregarded, the one of, not Esau, not Jacob. Either way, the book of the Bible that was kind of thrown out. Anyway, there's an archangel named Metatron in there. And it's the voice for God. Always loved that. Always felt really attracted to that. And I looked up Tetragrammaton one day, and it actually is the 4 letters that represent the name of God. Isn't that funny? Jehovah, or Yahweh. Usually denoted as what? YWHW or JHVH. If you study Neville Goddard, he goes very deep into those 4 syllables, and that Yahweh and Jehovah are not the name of God, but the actual creation process between physical and consciousness, and the exchange, and how he goes through each syllable, Yahweh. And it's like, that's your physical asking for something. That's your spiritual higher self responding. This is like, it's showing up to manifest. That's what Yahweh is. So here, 25 years ago, or whenever Equilibrium came out, and I'm attracted to the Tetragrammaton, it's actually a little calling that I'm attracted to the secrets of the universe, which is the actual creative process, which is the actual name of God. Now, and then of course, if you look at God as love, and the truth would be that love is the creative process, or when you are feeling love, the emotion of love is the most powerful creative element for good. See, I've been out studying metaphysics, the nature of reality, higher consciousness, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, metaphysics, mysticisms, alchemy, for a long time, really since I showed up on Earth. And I'm beginning to realize why. It's like an innate sense of truth. But here's the thing that's so funny about that, and why I went, and I'm beginning to realize, like, this is going to be my message for you guys. We're still going to have to work our way there, so I'm still going to have to blab, and I really appreciate you being here. It will get better if you stick around. But I'm not quite ready yet, so I kind of mess with my algorithm because I don't really want to be seen just yet. But they make it more complicated than it is, so it's a little bit more inaccessible. It's not metaphysics or enlightenment or higher consciousness or spirituality. It is physics. It's just physics. Mind and emotion are the sources of power. Aggression is, as a source of power, is so weak. Physical power, like, that's the thing. What I'm beginning to learn, I'm looking around at women, I'm like, really, we're bitching about the patriarchy and they're more physically powerful than us? You guys, we're sorceresses. We have mental power. Mental power, emotional power. So let's talk for a second. So this world is actually waves and particles. Okay, when you boil it down to that, it's much easier to understand that your mind is actual reality. Your mind is a focusing mechanism for the creative force that is the power that creates worlds, or what we might call God, but really it would be the two of us together, and it's really not what they call gods. It's a bad word for it, or a bad symbol. But basically, we focus on things, and then the feeling that we generate, these are all energies. So a thought has energy. It has a vibrational essence. It actually goes and attracts on its own once you have it. It starts to gather components all on its own. Isn't that cool? But your emotions drive it. So you have a thought, it's its own thing that's now created if you focus on it and you put emotion towards it. So you focus on it, and now the creative juices are flowing. The emotion that you choose as you flow your juices at it determines if you create something beautiful that makes you happy, or something sad that breaks your heart. It's literally just that. That's everything, guys. Well, a little more. Your beliefs about what's possible determine reality. See, that's what free will is. We're so confused. We think free will is like God gave us a heaven and a hell, and you can choose if you want eternal damnation and torture or to go to an eternal heaven. Like, that's so dumb. That's not a choice. And no loving God would put you in that choice, right? That's a choice like Putin would put you in. And don't try to sell me my God of love is like a Putin or Kim Jong-un that's going to throw me in some fiery pit of hell for being bad. Sorry, not buying it. No. It makes much more sense to say you have the will, you have the ability to create, you have everything you need, but you have the choice if you want to create something beautiful, sad, or happy. And it's based on how you think and how you feel. Now, of course, everyone's going to naturally lean towards wanting to create happy things that make them happy if they only knew what they were doing and how they were doing it, and that they had a hand in it. And of course, I can tell you this and it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimate absolute truth is hilarious because you could give it to people all day long and not only would they not believe it, but even if they did think it was a good idea, which hopefully some people will hear this and hear a call to truth, you get to go do your own journey. You can listen to me all day long. I've done my journey and I continue to, but I've got like 40 years in the bank for this. And that's not saying it's going to take you 40 years. I believe that because I've done this work, the more people that jump on this bandwagon with me will get it so much faster because I've gotten it, because I have a very strong mind. And I've worked out the details. So if you tap into me, I will have a very strong understanding because I want logic. I want things to line up. Physics lines up, guys. It just does when you think of it this way. So I'm thinking about something, I'm actually flowing energy at it, a creative energy, and my emotion that I'm experiencing while I do it affects what shows up. You can prove this to yourself over and over again. So, right, so you have to. That's the thing. I can tell it to you. You can be like, well, that's true. I think that might be true. But you have a lot of beliefs you have to undo. You have a lot of beliefs that you're not powerful, that you can't create anything, that everything else is, life is just happening to you. And everyone has to work that stuff out because we've all been programmed with it. That's why you have to go back to being like a little child. You didn't have that programming. That's why Jesus said, go back to being like the little kids. They don't have those limitations. All these things I can do, you can do and more. That's what he said. And yet it's been 2,000 years and nobody has. And nobody thinks there's a problem with that. Like, you mean rather than a toxic vaccine or a bunch of pills people are taking and stuff, I could just reach out and heal them with some love and forgiveness? Like, that's what's possible. And people will say, oh, no, dude, Jesus was a God. They just said that so you wouldn't get there again. And then you stuck him on a cross and kept him tortured and murdered for 2,000 years. And then you actually say in church he's a living God. I'm like, what living savior? You're always talking about his torture. He wasn't home for that. He didn't care about the physical pain. Let me tell you, when you start on this journey, and it's happening for me, again, you realize physical aggression, power of the physical world is nothing. It's nothing. Jesus graduated Earth, the game of Earth, because he realized it wasn't real. That's the real test. That's it. Can you believe this isn't real to the point where you can maintain your happiness and joy and love of everyone because you realize it's just molecules and particles throwing an illusion at you to ask you, do you really believe in a loving God? Do you? A loving God wouldn't do this. A loving God wouldn't do this. So then why am I here? A loving God wouldn't do this. So then why is it happening? And rather than continuing to follow that swing, humanity went, that's how God designed it. Because of the Bible. And so we're just supposed to accept it or burn in hell, and that's free will. No, free will is, I'm going to give you everything you need, and you can decide what you want to make. Make it beautiful, make it ugly. But I'm going to make it safe. And I'm going to make it safe in the sense that you are eternal and immortal. Your physical avatar will die. That is the gift to you of how you are eternally safe. Your physical avatar will die and release you back to heaven, back to where you belong, back to where you came from, where everybody goes. There's no favorites here. We're all equal, but we're all on a different learning path. That's all. And so you die and go back. You're never stuck here. The only thing that really happened here that got out of whack was the physical avatar decided it was real and didn't want to die. And we got confused. We got ourselves confused with the physical avatar. Oh, this is me. And when it dies, I die. And yet at the same time, we were willing to sacrifice all our joy in life because of some end world promise of heaven like that. This is supposed to be the game, guys. This is supposed to be the fun and the heaven. I mean, the other place is heaven, don't get me wrong, but this is supposed to be, we're supposed to really enjoy here. Like I said, you're a spiritual being using a physical avatar to play a game. The physical avatar decided it was the whole shamali, and then the whole being of you panicked about dying because you're supposed to be immortal. You know you're not supposed to die, and now you're all confused. So I designed this avatar. I especially like her. I think she's quite delightful. But thanks to the hero's journey I've been on and the shattering upon shattering and losing of everything that I love or everything that I thought was me in the physical world again and again, not just once. And coming out better and stronger. I mean, I'm almost unaging if you look at me. It's a bit strange. And I know my eyes are bloodshot. I worked 1,000,000 hours this week. I'm exhausted. And I mean, just that I can formulate these thoughts and sound this, have said this poignant with how sick and tired and everything I am. It's like, it's amazing. But this is just a tool. My body is just a tool. And I have learned that because of this, because I've lost all these things and still been better and better, because I've continued to address the issues in my mind. I've continued to work on my belief systems. I've continued to forgive. I've continued to make amends. I've been put in circumstances, not because I'm better than anyone. I just been put in some circumstances where I really didn't have a choice. I put myself in some really interesting positions where I didn't have a choice but to evolve. And then weird things happen. And you have to notice eventually. You have to go, well, people tell me this is how the world operates, but I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing this. So something's off. And that's where I have to keep leaning in and study. And then you realize it's just physics. If I don't think I'm aging, if I'm not worried about aging, if I don't sit and obsess with like some weird mirror with like looking at my pores, I'm not going to age as fast. The more happy and light and loving I feel, the more light is going to shine through me, the younger I'm going to look. Because I'm happy. It's a happiness thing. It's a resistance-based thing. If I can get, and it's still a process, but really understand that I am a spiritual being just using this physical avatar for fun, my body gets lighter and lighter and healthier because it doesn't own me. It can't make me sick. It can't take my life. It belongs to my spiritual avatar as my tool. If we decide to get it a tumor and have it pass away, that's because we were ready to go home. And things can get really heavy here that are like that. But my job is bigger. And so I have continued to overcome those things because I've been shown that they're not me. That's just it. There's something else going on. And it's just physics-based. Like I said, it's just speed and movement of your waves and particles. And what we all see and experience is different based on the speed and vibration of our own particles. And it's also what you attract. So I realize I've exiled myself. I was joking I was hiding under a rock, and I'm realizing, no, I kind of exiled myself the last 5 years. And I needed that. I needed to go away and get well. And it's in most heroes' journey, Legends of the Fall, Lord of the Rings, like, I think even Harry Potter, like, definitely in Twilight, like, oftentimes the hero removes himself or herself because he feels he is bad or intrinsically unable to handle the responsibility, often because they weren't initially. But what it turns out is they needed that initial experience because it taught them something about their enemy. Love thy enemy. That they needed in order to bring them home. And it also established what was different between me and my enemy. See, I know that I'm not the darkness, and I had to go tangle with it to not fear it, because I think the great fear of any good person is if I really go tangle with darkness, it'll overtake me. Like, it's sort of like the dark side in Star Wars, let the hate flow through you. I have experienced hate a bit in my life, and it's just not a vibration I can hold. It's just not. It's very, very painful and uncomfortable, but I've been there, and I've been around darkness, and I've seen these things, and I've realized that, well, you can visit there. I can visit there. It's not me. I would never stay there. And probably everyone's that way. Just some people work really hard to stay there. But you have to know what it is to not fear it. And the only people that can really shine the light, that can eradicate darkness, or at least temper it, have to know that they have a different level of source of power. My power comes from not God in the sense of where Christians are like, Jesus is on my side. But it's not like that. I'm not calling to an external source to come save me. See, because of my understanding of physics, because of my understanding of thought, because of my belief system change, because of my ability to focus emotion, all these things that are coming in line, this integration and wholeness that's happening, my ability to focus positive emotion in such a way and flow it at other people will change them. It's changing buildings and in small environments. I'd like it to get to a city-state level, but we're not there yet. I'm a disruptor in that sense. And I've realized I thought I needed to go away when I made people unhappy. And this summer, I thought it was the summer of mediocrity. It's not at all. It's the summer of meekness. And the meek inherit the earth. And the thing is, it's not because you aren't powerful, but it's a different kind of power. And since people don't play in it and most people don't explain it, it's very difficult. So I'm doing that now. It is my job to stay because my very presence is disruptive by how I am, and not because I'm putting people down or hurting people, but because in the light of my presence, they can see their choices. In the darkness, see it. It seemed rational, reasonable. They weren't selling their souls. They were doing the right thing. But there's something about me that doesn't let them get away with that when I'm in their presence. And so it's really important that I don't run away or leave when I'm somewhere. When I need to be moved, I will be. Until then, I have to accept that sometimes I serve my brothers who have shifted to a more dark, hollow, or disconnected from their true self type of environment or living. I'm their call home. And that's why they don't like me, because I make them feel, well, I'm a stand for something. But regardless of what their physical avatar thinks, their spiritual component is always on its path. It doesn't need me, but perhaps I could be a tool that helps to pull their physical avatar back just a little bit in line with their inner being in some way. Anyway, my head really started hurting and I'm exhausted. I think that's all I've got. I worked really hard this week and I'm experiencing some retaliation, discrimination because of reporting some things at work. And it's interesting because I never would have been able to handle it the way I am now, or show up the way I am and still be nice, still do my job. I worked so hard this week and my store manager came up to me and said, "Are you pushing overtime?" "Yeah." "Why?" I'm thinking, how does he not know? Well, because I'm down 2 full-time people. I saw all of Christmas. Our district guy was in the department just, 2 days ago, telling me everything needed to come down, like at the beginning of the week, and we needed to get it out. And the only precedent I have for that would be this summer when the same thing happened with all the weed killer chemicals and someone was called into my department to drop it all. So I thought I would do it myself this time. I didn't say all of that, obviously. I just gave him the basic context. And he just told me to go home. Didn't say thank you. Didn't acknowledge the millions of garlands or the extra lights for all of the different things that I had done. It would have bothered me before, or I would have felt deflated. And that's because this is where that people-pleasing obligation piece that's shifting so much because before I would have done it for their accolades. I didn't do it for their accolades. I did it just because I know what I needs to be done and I can do it because I'm a badass and I wanted to. And it was the right thing to do for the product and the business. Like, we need to get the product down and out. And if it's going to cost you 4 hours of overtime, I told my boss and I said, let me know to cut it if it's going to be the case. And he didn't mention. So I did a great service and I don't need my store manager to acknowledge that, to know what I did was right. And that is something completely new. So people can judge me all day long for the things I post and what I'm doing on this channel, but I am working something out that's really important. I am changing with this. My ability to express it has happened here. Thank you for being here, because it is because of you. My ability to express and speak my truth is changing, and we're going to help people. I have to be ready, though, and I'm still going to work hard. That is my only dedication, to be as ready as possible so none of my physical avatar, opinion, earthly bullshit, as little as possible at least, gets in the way, because the mission here is bigger. I love my people. I love my people. And every person is my people, and my people are hurting. The structures that should protect them and support them are preying upon them. And they are preying on themselves, really. You have forgotten how powerful you are, how good you are, how much love you were created in. And you can throw hell out altogether. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go Christian. I'm going to go Christian without hell. Sorry, there is no hell. There is no damnation. There is no death. And if you listen to me, that's what Jesus was saying. But because he was crucified and died for your sin, you don't have sin. Sin is defined as a lack of love. The only thing that we worry about here is lack of love. Darkness is lack of light. It does not have its own body. It has no mass. It only exists in lack of light. Sin is only lack of love. There is no hell. You literally are safe at all times. You will boot out of this world. You will go back to truth. Your loving God is always loving, and it doesn't change the message of Jesus. In fact, it makes it much more powerful, and it makes the book more powerful too. I used to always say Jesus was a master metaphysician, and I never knew. I realize now, I said that it was truth, but I really didn't know why that was truth. Now I do. And Buddha and Muhammad. And then we haven't done that again in 2,500 years. It's just frankly embarrassing, guys. And then the Course in Miracles came out in 1970. Also another key to help us heal. 50 years. Anyone doing divine healing yet? Wayne Dyer was divinely healed. That was a huge message for me, because have you ever looked into Wayne Dyer's miraculous healer? He's in jail. He's doing time for molesting women. Nobody wants to look at that. See, what people did with that, people disregarded his healing power because he was bad. They missed the point. Because, see, we can only have that healing and things of love and light and good exist only in people who only do good. That's a bunch of bullshit. Just because that guy figured out how to access something. Wayne had to bring just as much faith and love to that interaction as he did, or he would have been powerless. But he knew how to focus it so that if someone believed enough in his power to heal them, he could do it. That's what Jesus was doing too. I have a feeling Jesus was a much cleaner vessel. But while that story about Wayne Dyer's teacher or healer got me down for a while, I realized it was actually a very important message. It's not that interesting, or it's not that miraculous. It's not that special. It's not that difficult. It's actually probably could be very standard to heal people without pills and vaccines and all that stuff. There's something here, mind to mind. Minds can't hurt minds, but minds can heal mind. Or I should say, a mind can't kill another mind. I do think minds can hurt minds, and minds can heal minds. He could do it, and he didn't even have to be that good of a guy to do it, which tells me the healing power isn't that crazy to attain. Imagine the powers you could get if you were super good. You're in a magical dream world. It's not that weird, guys. You could probably fly, blow fire out of your ass. Why do you think we're watching X-Men movies all the time? It's like a reminder, guys. You're a superhero. You're super. And again, not everybody's here for the hero's journey. I realize I'm just coming through onto the really cool piece afterwards, and it's amazing, and it's going to be so much fun, and it's going to be a blast. But those first 40 years are no joke. All right, I'm babbling. I love you. Thanks for being here. Pray my eye heals. Look at that. All right. Talk soon. Bye.